Good evening, Glencoe families. We ask at this time you take a seat, get comfortable, so we can get started with our presentation. All right, I'm going to get started. So, good evening. Welcome, Glencoe Central Administration, Glencoe Board of Education, families, students, and anyone else that I may have omitted. Welcome to Glencoe High School's College Planning Night. My name is Dr. Ursula Mora, and I have the privilege of being the Assistant Principal at Glencoe High School. Tonight marks an important step in a high school journey as we work together to ensure our seniors are fully prepared for the next chapter of their lives. This evening is about providing our seniors with tools, resources, and guidance needed to navigate the college application process with confidence. As you'll hear throughout the program, our counselors are here to support you, whether it's with applications, financial aid, transcripts, or exploring the best fit for your future goals. We encourage you to ask questions, take notes, and leave tonight feeling empowered about the path ahead. Together, we will make sure you are well prepared for the transition from high school to the college or career of your choice. Tonight's event will be recorded and available on the GCTV YouTube page, and all materials will be available on the Guidance Class of 2026 Google Classroom page. Before we begin tonight's presentation, I'd like to remind you where our exits are in case of an emergency. There's one to my left, one to my right, as well as two in the rear. So we have 4 exits in total. We also want to commemorate 9/11. We want to have a moment of silence after we say the pledge. So right now, if you can, I ask that everyone please stand as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I will start you off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I ask that you remain standing for a brief moment in honor of 9/11. Thank you. Without further ado, I'm going to present our first counselor. We have Ms. Melissa Anderson, and she will take the podium to start our presentation tonight.
All right, who's already stressed? Okay, raise your hand. You stressed? Okay. So, first slide. We tried to make it a little more fun this time because it is a stressful time, right? You have college applications, you have sports, you have extracurricular activities, you have to get good grades, and then you got to do all these college applications. It's a lot, right? But I want to reiterate, we all are here to help support you. Okay, we help you through the entire process. Some of our seniors are sick of us by the end of the year. Okay, and I see some of my seniors 3 or 4 times a week during college applications. It's whatever questions you have, use us. We're your resource. Okay, we're here to help you through whatever it may be that you have a question about. Okay, so with that being said, a letter did go out for senior meetings. They do begin next week. So if you have not already done so, schedule a senior meeting with your counselor so that you can sit down and speak individually about any personal questions you may have, specific questions, so that we can kind of make sure we get everything done and answered. Okay, so here to help. So hopefully that helps you relax a little bit. Okay, it is, again, like having a part-time job, we call it. So you're in school and then you have this part-time job applying college. So use us as a resource. Okay. So, applications. Last year, I know a lot of us created a Common App account in our junior meetings with our students. So if you didn't already do that, then you should create a Common App account. It has the majority of colleges on there. So CUNY is not on there, so you have to create a CUNY account if you're applying to any city universities. The only SUNY school not on there is FIT, but most of the SUNY schools are on there. So if a school is not on the Common App or one of those other platforms, then you would apply through the school itself. So these are the main platforms that we use. Nassau separate, Suffolk separate if you apply to those schools. Okay, but the majority of the schools will be on Common App. So now, the application process. So this is where, again, all of the work comes in and where things get a little tricky and you have a lot of things you have to do. So transcripts, letters of recommendations are processed through the counseling office. So you need to make sure that you let us know. I have this conversation every year with every single senior that if you don't tell me you're applying somewhere, there's not like there's a magical button that I press that tells me all my seniors and where they applied to. So you have to tell your counselor. So if you apply to 5 schools and you let us know, but then later on in the year you apply to 3 more, you have to tell us, okay? Because we will not send anything if you do not give us that information. So you are responsible for letting us know where you're applying, and then we will follow through with the rest of the materials. So now, college essay, supplemental essays, college questions. This is another big portion of the college application. And I know everyone is so scared of the college essay because you have to talk personally about yourself, right? In 650 words or less, how do you describe something that is going to make you stand out, right? Pick something that you're passionate about. Be yourself. Be authentic and genuine. That's what they want to see. You don't have to have a crazy story or a sob story or anything that just makes you stand out to that capacity. You could literally talk about, I give an example to a lot of my seniors. I had a kid who talked about a sunset. And you look at it and you're like, what could you possibly say about a sunset? How he had missed so many sunsets because he had focused so much on work, school, and extracurricular activities that he missed this beautiful sunset every night in front of him. That it actually made him stop and appreciate the things around him a little bit more while still challenging himself and incorporating everything else. So I learned so much about this student by talking about a sunset, and it was such a simple idea, but I learned so much about the kid. And I remember it to this day, this was years ago that I read this essay. So sometimes it's those little things that you can get stuck in someone's mind that doesn't have to be something huge and spectacular. It could be a simple idea. Turning in application materials. So this is another thing that happens every year. So we want to make sure we get your application materials, and you want to make sure we get them. So don't just leave them on our desk. Don't put them in our mailbox. Don't give them to somebody else. Give them directly to your counselor, because then that way we both know we received them, and then we can make sure that it's processed properly. If you leave it on my desk and then somehow it goes missing, or I don't know that it's there, we could miss college deadlines, and we don't want to do that, right? Keep track of your deadline dates. So this is another thing. At least 2 weeks before your deadline, you should be going to your counselor and giving them your transcript request form, which we'll go over in the senior meetings, and with the list of colleges that you're applying to. Okay, that needs to be at least 2 weeks before, because as you can see, everyone is kind of a little busy in this building in the beginning of the year, throughout the year. There's a lot of things happening. We're in senior meetings. If you need a letter tomorrow and you tell me today, you may not get the best letter from me if you're giving me a day to write it. Okay, we have a presentation today. We have meetings tomorrow. So you have to give your teacher and teachers and counselors time to be able to write these letters. So we recommend at least 2 weeks before a deadline. You can turn it in earlier than that, but at least 2 weeks. Anything after the 2 weeks, we can't promise that everything is processed in time by your deadline. Okay? Keep a file for everything. Stay organized. So that's the best way. It's a lot of things that you have to keep track of, a lot of deadlines, and not all the deadlines are the same. So I recommend to my students making a spreadsheet. Make a spreadsheet of your earliest deadline, and then go to the next deadline, and then focus on those applications. Because if you just try to tackle them all at once, it's going to be too overwhelming and too much. So just take the time to organize yourself a little bit so that it saves you time later on. And don't panic if you receive a letter, email notification that something is missing from your application. So this also happens every year because we will send the transcript, the letters, later after you submit your application. So sometimes when you submit an application, you're going to have to create a portal account, it's called. So once you create a portal account, you'll be able to monitor your application and the status of your application. You have to make one for every school that you apply to. So if you apply to 10 schools, 10 portal accounts. If you look in your portal account and it says it's missing your transcript, don't freak out. It does take time before we send stuff, they process it, download it, and upload your accounts. If you applied a month ago and it's still saying that it's missing, then we should reach out again and figure it out. But if you just applied and you're looking the next day or even a week later saying it's not there, just give it some time. Entitlement, this is to monitor is what I was just speaking about. So remember as well, admissions decisions are always contingent upon a final transcript. So what I mean by that is you made it to senior year, right? You want to have some more free periods, you want to enjoy also your senior year, but you do still want to challenge yourself. When you send your transcript out, there will be the classes that you're taking senior year. They want to still see rigor, okay? So if you're going to apply to college, they're going to look at your transcript, they're going to look at the courses that you've taken. You want to make sure that you're matching that in senior year, so that when they look at it, they make their decision and decide to admit you or not, that you follow through with that throughout the entire year. Just because you get acceptance doesn't mean that it's for sure. Okay? You have to follow through on your end throughout the end of the year with good grades, because they could take back their admissions decision if you don't follow through. Okay, so remember, no senioritis. Okay, try to limit the senioritis. I know some of us already had it last year, some of us had it since freshman year, so we need to just make sure, limit the senioritis, and make sure that you're still handling what you need to handle for senior year. Okay, so GPA and transcript. So we will be sending home a copy of your transcript. Please review it to make sure everything looks correct. We have looked them over to make sure there are no errors on it, but just in case, you always want to make sure that you check it, just to make sure everything looks correct. If you notice something that does not look correct, please notify the counselor, and then we will do what we need to do to change it. And then submission of first quarter and semester 1 grades. So this is another part where senioritis could matter. So if you aren't doing so great, your quarter 1 and quarter 2 of senior year, and a school requires you to send in a mid-year report, they want to see your quarter 1 and quarter 2 grades. So that could be a make or break between if you get into a school or not. So you do want to make sure, again, you're still doing well in your classes, challenging yourself, because it could come down to that. Okay, types of admission. So now there's a few ways to apply. So, or there's acceptance. So an acceptance means, yeah, you got in, okay? Deny means you did not get in. A defer means it's not a no, but you're gonna be pushed. If you applied early, you're gonna be pushed to the regular admissions pool. A wait list means, again, it's not a no, it's not a yes, but you have to wait to see if you get off the wait list or not, which could not happen. Summer Start is like a transition program. Some schools offer a program where you can start a little bit earlier in the summer, and it's more of like a transition program into college. And then spring admits. This we see a lot with like Binghamton. We've had a lot of those where they don't offer maybe fall, but they'll offer spring. So that is also something that you could see happening. Okay, so when should you apply? Now, there's a big difference between some of these that are on here. So early decision 2, and early action, you can apply early, and you find out early if you got in or not. However, with early decision, that is a binding agreement. So if you apply early decision, you're making a binding agreement with that school, and if you get in, you're gonna go to that school, okay? With early action, you're applying to that school to see if you get in, and it's not a binding agreement. You can only apply to one school early decision, because if you get into a school and you're going to that school, you can't apply to 4 schools early decision and go to 4 schools. So this would be like a dream school of yours. Okay, but there also is early action. So if you want to utilize the early action or applying early, you can also use early action. Not all schools offer the same kind of ways to apply, so just make sure you're looking at each college and what they offer. So if they don't offer an early action or early decision, you'll probably see a regular or rolling decision. And if they usually offer an early, they'll offer a later one as well. Maybe you're not ready to apply early, so they offer a later decision as well. So regular is usually sometime in January, February, and then rolling admissions is you apply at any point and they kind of review as they get them. With early decision 1 and 2 and early action, those deadlines are usually November 1st, November 15th, or early decision 2 and sometimes early action 2 are December 1st, December 15th. We have seen applications be as early as October 15th. So again, really make sure you're checking your deadlines for each school because they are all different. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Ioka.
Hello everyone. All right, so I'm going to start talking about the free application SUNY and CUNY. So the SUNY free application week is October 20th to November 3rd. And the CUNY free application week is still to be announced. This is a great opportunity for you to submit these applications to these New York State public institutions at no cost. So you should definitely take advantage of that. Next is Naviance. So Naviance is a great platform that can help you with your college search. It's also specific to our school. And it also helps with teacher recommendations. So you definitely want to ask your teachers, if you haven't done so already, to write you a letter of recommendation. And it's definitely important that you match your Common App and Naviance account. If you need help doing that, you can do that during your senior meetings when you meet with your guidance counselor, and we can help you with that process. And also providing your teachers with a list of schools that you're applying to and their deadlines is important, like Alyssa had mentioned before, Ms. Anderson. And also telling them thank you for writing a letter, because they're going out of their way to help you with the college admissions process. So college fairs. This is a great opportunity for you to talk to college admissions counselors one-on-one at college fairs. There's a lot of college fairs on Long Island that you can attend. First, we're going to talk about the Glen Cove High School College Fair. They're the mini fairs. We have 3 of them in the fall. Our first one is actually on September 16th on Tuesday at 9 o'clock. It goes from 9 to 10:30, and it's going to be in the gym. We have 50 colleges coming to our first fair, so that's our biggest mini fair of the entire fall mini fair series. And then we have one on September 30th and on October 6th. There's also the CUNY fair, which is on September 21st. There's 2 time slots, 12:30 to 2, and then a 2:30 to 4 o'clock. This is at Farmingdale State College. Also another fair is Nassau Counselors Association on September 30th from 5:30 to 8:30, and it's at Adelphi University. There's also the Western Suffolk Counselors Association Fair, October 16th at Howe High School. All right, and then last thing we'll be talking about, what is test optional? So test optional is a policy that some schools have adopted when you do not have to submit a test score. It's optional. So, but it's good to know that there are definitely some programs like the STEM fields, or if you're applying for the Honors College, that they still might require you to send an SAT or ACT score. It also depends on the college you're applying to as well. I know a lot of the SUNY and CUNY schools are test optional, but it's important to still go onto the school's website and see what their SAT and ACT policy is. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about the SAT and ACT. And I'm going to pass it along to Ms. McCullough now.
Hi everyone, how's everyone doing tonight? I'm Ms. McCullough. I'm going to be talking tonight about financial aid. Are you all still with me? Does anyone want free money? Can I make a joke? Can you laugh a little bit? Loosen the room up. Okay, so the FAFSA. So I'm sure if any of you have had children who have gone through this process before, even if you haven't, you have heard of something called the FAFSA. The FAFSA is actually starting this year, October 1st, so in years past, in more recent years past, it has opened a little bit later. So this year, we are hoping that it will open on time. So October 1st, this will open. You will notice that that won't coincide with some of your college application deadlines. You do have time to fill out the FAFSA. You have until about June 30th to fill out the FAFSA, so there is a longer deadline period. However, we do suggest that you fill out the FAFSA a little bit earlier on. There are some grants through the state and through the federal government that you can be awarded. There's a lot of different acts that have gone into place this year as well, so we're not too sure where money will be allocated yet. We're not too sure of the actual numbers yet either, as they have been in years past. So the sooner you get it done, again, one extra thing that you can check off your list. We usually do say that this is kind of like the final part of your application process. And again, it's one of the more important parts. As we all know, college is very expensive, and the FAFSA does make it, quote unquote, a more affordable option for families. So be sure that when this comes out, that you are filling it out. We will also send out notifications so that you are aware when the FAFSA is open for students as well. The FAFSA does cover specific portions of your tuition. So depending on where you're going, depending on different programs that you're applying to, it can cover tuition, books, Sometimes it does cover housing, which is really nice as well. But again, that is specific to certain schools that you are applying to. Sometimes there's money that's allocated for New York State, and then if you leave New York State, it is a little bit different. But again, this is all stuff that we can go over individually once you receive those financial aid packages. Last year, Ms. Ioka also did host a wonderful financial aid night where we actually had 2 representatives come in from MYIT. So we are looking to do that again this year. So you would bring all of your financial information, you would sit down with a financial aid representative, and they would go over all of your personal information with you to help you submit the FAFSA. When we have a date for that, we will let you know that as well. So how do I apply? The FAFSA? The FAFSA is your first step, so you will create an account. The parent or guardian will have to create an account, and the student will create an account as well. So you will need to work on 2 separate accounts. Sometimes if you have had a child who has gone above already to college, sometimes it causes a few issues. So again, once we do have that financial aid night offered here, that will be a good time for you. We definitely can help you with certain aspects of it, but when it comes to the actual financial pieces behind the scenes, we don't want to ruin anyone's chances of getting extra funds. I am a guidance counselor, I am not an accountant, and I do not want anything to do with numbers. So we will send you to the people that can really help you best with that portion of the application process. So if anyone has ever seen around the school building, we do host on-site admissions days here as well. This year we actually have a lot that we are having come to the school. So most of these are local schools. We do have some of the requirements already posted in guidance. For some of the schools that we don't have the requirements for yet, we will send those out to students as well, and then we will also give them to you in your individualized meetings. This is a great opportunity to kind of get some of those schools in early on. So even if this is not a school, say, for instance, I know LIU is right here, so if LIU is kind of maybe a backup school for some students, then I went there, so no hate on LIU at all. But if it is maybe like a backup or a local school that you are applying to, it's a good way to have another option under your applications as a school that you might be able to just have. We always say options are a good thing to have. You never know what can happen. LIU personally for me was not my first option, but it wound up being an option for me very late on in the process. So we always say it's good to do the on-site admissions if you meet the requirements. You sit down, you come to guidance, you sit down with a college representative for about 10 to 15 minutes. They ask you a few questions and then they tell you on the spot if you've gotten in. We usually do set the students up for success, so we're not going to send you in a room where we know your chances of not getting in are maybe not the best. So that's why we usually have the individual conversations before time. So if it is something that you are interested in, please pay attention to the dates. The requirements are different for every school. So again, this is something that will come down the line once we have our one-to-one meetings. Scholarships. So scholarships do start to come out a little bit later in the year. I know some students have already started asking about this. Naviance is really going to be your best friend for the scholarship portion of this process. So as we get scholarships to us, we post them to Naviance automatically, so you can keep track of all of your scholarships on Naviance. Again, most of these will start to come out in late fall, early winter, and then we really see the chunk of them in December and January. So that is the portion of when you really want to be paying attention to any outside scholarships. Any community-based scholarships, those also come out at that time as well. I do see some people taking pictures, just a reminder for everyone too. This will be posted in the Google Classroom, so if you can't click on a link on here right now, obviously, we will have this uploaded for you as well. You will also see merit-based scholarships. Merit-based scholarships are awarded based on your grades specifically, and then sometimes also based on the criteria that you have, any extracurricular activities or sports. But merit is strictly usually based on your GPA, so that is a number that you do want to take a look at. Ms. Ioka did touch upon the SAT as well. Some schools and some specific programs, although our test optional, will require an SAT, so you do want to be sure that you're looking into that too. I always say it can't hurt to take it once, see how you do, and then sometimes if you need to wager that you did really well on your SAT and maybe wager that as an opportunity to ask for more money, that might be a great way to go about it. So that's just my recommendation that I sometimes tell families. You'll also see on here Excelsior, TAP, and EOP. So there are different educational opportunity programs, which is what EOP is, for students when they are applying to college. Again, it depends on the school as well. Excelsior is through New York State. That is based on your estimated family income, and that is a conversation that we can have privately as well. But we will provide all of this information to you when you do attend your senior meetings. It's, again, more ways to make college affordable for you, your family, and your child. Is anyone in here planning on playing a college sport, D1 or D2, D3? Okay, so if you have not yet told your counselor that you are planning to go and play an NCAA college sport, you absolutely need to come straight to guidance tomorrow morning and tell us. There are specific requirements and eligibility that you need to meet before you can even become a D1 or D2 or even D3 athlete. Division 3 is more so based on your GPA. Division 1 and Division 2, I have 3 college athletes, Division 1 sitting right in front of me, so props to them. I was just a cheerleader. No surprise there, nobody liked them. But if you are planning on playing a Division 1, Division 2 sport, you need to let us know because we need to make sure that the classes in your schedule are meeting those eligibility requirements. Sometimes if it's too late and we do not know that, it comes down to the conversation of, well, we did not know, so we are now in January and now you're planning on talking to a coach and you've been recruited for a sport, but you are not actually academically eligible to play that sport in college. So you need to be having those conversations. So please, 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 if you have not already done so, please speak with your guidance counselor about that as soon as possible. There is a link that you will see on here as well. You can click on that link and you can see all of the courses that are eligible through Glencoe High School. So if you've taken them, if you have a copy of your transcript, you can kind of go through your transcript and just see what courses you've taken that you can apply towards the NCAA. And Google Classroom and email. So we really use email a lot to connect with all of you. I'm sure you know that over the last 4 years here. That is really primarily how we get in touch with a lot of our students. So you need to be checking your emails over the next few weeks specifically. Google Classroom, we will post a lot in. Most of you should be in the class of 2026, excuse me, the 2026 Google Classroom. If you are not in there, you can come to guidance as well. If not, ask a friend. You need to be in that classroom because that is also where we post a lot of updates for any college fairs, any updates on scholarships. Pretty much everything that you need for senior year will be posted in this Google Classroom. So if you're not in there already, you just want to make sure that you are getting in there. Colleges do use AI now to kind of analyze if you are checking your emails and what you're looking at versus what you're not looking at. We had a college representative tell us last year that they can actually check to see if you are even opening your emails. So they can see how many times you've deleted an email, they can see how many times you've opened, they can see how long you stayed on that email for, if you've actually read it or if you've just clicked it. So it's kind of crazy to think about, but they are tracking your interest for these schools. So if you are interested, you need to be showing the actual interest. It's not something that we can just get out of. Some of these schools have become a lot more difficult to get into over the last few years specifically. So they are really tracking to make sure that they want you just as much as you want them and vice versa. So you need to be making sure they're actually paying attention to the emails that come into your email inbox. Also, just for the mini fairs, be sure that you're interacting with the college admissions reps too. Go with maybe some general questions that you can ask, just so that you have a better idea of maybe what you're getting yourself into when it comes down the line and when you go to visit these schools. That is all for us tonight. We are going to leave the floor open. I know this is a little bit of an overwhelming process, so we're going to leave the floor open for any general questions. If you have any individual questions, we ask that you save those more specific questions for just when we meet individually. But if anyone has any general questions, we are more than happy to answer. Nobody? Nothing? Yes, go ahead.
Regarding the FAFSA application, we fill that out like right now to submit later.
No, so you can create an account now, but it will not even open until October 1st. So when you start the FAFSA, it'll open for the 26 to 27 school year. If you go on now, it'll show for the 25 to 26 school year. It will also, you'll need your 2024 tax papers.
The other thing I just want to mention too is you have to create an FSA ID, which could take a few days for it to be verified. So you might want to do that a few days. You could do that sooner, so that when it is open, you then can go. Because if you create it October 1st, you can't fill it out October 1st because you have to wait till you get an email that was approved. So fill out that FSA ID, get that done, and then once it opens, then you can go in and start the application. Yes.
Do you have to have the classes completed if you're applying for the action?
No. So a lot of times too, so early action deadlines start as early as October 1st, October 15th. So most times it won't be completely done. It does take a little bit of time to process through their system as well. So it does not have to be completed. Some schools will also ask for something called the CSS profile that is dependent upon the school. When you open the Common App, there's a general page that will show you all of their requirements. So you can see if they need that specific document. It goes a lot more in depth into your background and your finances. Primarily the FAFSA though, it does not have to be completed right away. We just really suggest that you complete it earlier on for those allocated funds for grants.
And also too, the FAFSA needs to be filled out every year. CSS profile is only one time.
Who's next? Yeah.
So for recommendation letters, for it's on Naviance, it says it's just for teachers. What if they got recommendation letters from jobs? How do they apply online for that?
So for school primarily, we typically recommend that you have at least 2 letters of recommendation from academics. Just because we want to show that they have some, if they're applying for, say, a medical program, we typically say try to have either a math or a science teacher or like an English teacher, somebody that you feel like, number one, you have a good connection with, can write a little bit about your effort and hard work in school as well. Specific to jobs or like a coach, that would usually be used as like an additional letter of recommendation that we can attach. That's something that we would send on our own. So it can't be uploaded through Naviance. We would take those and we would send them pretty much through email. Ms. Daniels in our office is great. She does a lot of that work behind the scenes. So she typically would take those and send it through email to the schools, to whoever you would want them sent to. Does that answer that question? Yeah.
Yes, for the D1 information, will that be shared, that link, so we can see exactly what the criteria is, or is that done one-on-one in a meeting with our counselor?
Who is your guidance counselor, Ms. Anderson? So maybe I would say go over it individually with Ms. Anderson, but that link will be shared in the Google Classroom as well if you want to click on it and just look at it maybe before you have your meeting with Ms. Anderson, just so that you're aware on your end as to what classes you would need. But yeah, it will be available, made available to you. There's also a sheet that you can go through to kind of track off what classes you've taken. It's a whole process. You honestly have one of the best people to do this with you because she was an athlete, so she knows very in depth what to do in that process.
It also doesn't go by, again, if you passed a class or not. There's just certain classes that NCAA says can be eligible or not eligible. So you could be taking an elective and it may not be an eligible course, but you may take a more mainstream course and that is more of an eligible course. So that's determined through NCAA. So we don't really have a say in what it is. So you have to make sure you have those certain courses in the schedule in order to meet their requirements to be eligible to play.
And will the adjustment be made if that's the case? So if she has an elective, it's not eligible, well now another class will be put in place to switch to having the space of being eligible?
So yeah, so this is also what Ms. McAuliffe mentioned too, that this is something that should be expressed to us early on, because if there's 5 classes they need, but we have 4 spaces, now the conversation is, we don't have room to make you eligible, because we're finding out later that this was your plan. And sometimes things happen. Sometimes that wasn't the plan in the beginning and things happen, but it is a conversation we have to see if it's something that can work to make them eligible.
Any other questions? Yes.
What is the advantage of early action?
So the advantage of early action is different for each school. I will say a nice advantage is that the earlier you do it and the earlier you submit your applications, the earlier you're done. So you usually hear back, sometimes depending on when those early dates are, you usually hear back by December. So usually going into that long winter break, you already have an idea of the schools that you're going into, so you do have a little bit more time to kind of make your decision, maybe go visit some of those schools. So for you, I think it takes the stress out later on, so it might be a little bit more stressful now to kind of make sure those documents are all in, but I think it will help you later on. For some schools, it does make a difference because you can be put on what's called a wait list. So if you get, if you do early action for a school, I'll use the example of like Binghamton, you get put on their wait list, then you get put into their general admissions pool. So you kind of, I look at it as like having two chances, whereas sometimes if you get put in the general admissions pool, it's sometimes just an automatic no, whereas with early action, you do sometimes have that secondary chance of getting in a second way. But for me, I think it's just a less stressful way of doing it. And I will say, just in speaking with other counselors and students, the majority of students do typically take advantage of the early action process over regular decision. Not every school offers early action, most schools do, and if they offer it, I would recommend trying to get everything in for that time.
You can then also fill out FAFSA, get financial aid decisions, and then have time to be able to make your decision what school maybe is the best fit. Because sometimes it doesn't always come down to, does it have the program I want? Do I like this school? Can I afford this school? What is my debt gonna look like? There's a lot of factors that kind of come into play. So the sooner you can get it done, the more time you have to kind of make those decisions, or maybe apply to another school because what you're getting is not working for, I guess, what your situation is. So it gives you more room to plan ahead and be able to figure out if it's gonna work for you and your family.
Anyone else? No?
Yeah, it's overwhelming, it's a lot of information.
So we, like Ms. Anderson said in the beginning, if you have not already done so and scheduled your senior meeting, we ask that you please do so as soon as possible. Our spots do fill up really quickly. They will start Monday, September 15th. It's about an hour long. If you're able to make it in person, that's great. If you're not able to make it in person, we just usually typically do a Google Meet. You can call the guidance office, you can email one of us, but we will get you in. And again, any more specific, individualized questions, we will go over at that meeting as well. But thank you on behalf of guidance. Thank you all for coming here tonight. It's nice to see you.
I just wanted to say goodnight. I don't have anything else to add, but make sure that you're in touch with your counselors